Hello, welcome. My name is Jocko and I am the Sudoku Swami. If you watch my videos and absorb all the solving techniques that I will describe for you in great detail, you will learn how to solve even the most diabolical and evil Sudoku puzzles with ease. No problem. If you stick with me, I will teach you step by step with numerous examples all the various solving techniques, methods, and tricks from the simplest to the most complex. And hopefully we'll have fun doing it. In recent years, Sudoku has become the most popular puzzle of all time, and I'm sure you love solving these interesting and challenging puzzles as much as I do. So let's get started. Many of the Sudoku tutorials I have seen, both written and on video, are either incomplete or poorly explained or poorly presented with an insufficient number of examples, or they are so complicated sounding and looking that they are practically impossible to understand. I, however, will try to make everything crystal clear for you. It is my sincere desire to help you learn how to solve these puzzles. And I welcome your comments because it will be very rewarding to me to know that I may have made a difference in your education on your way to mastering Sudoku. One of the main reasons I decided to give these tutorials was because I remember how frustrating and confusing it was for me when I first started learning all the solving techniques because of so many poorly written explanations. So my goal is to give the clearest, most complete, and easiest to understand solving instructions on the internet. A Sudoku puzzle is solved by using logic, pure and simple, not by guessing, and by analyzing the relationships between the remaining possible candidates in the unfilled cells. One by one, we can eliminate those candidates that are logically proven to be impossibilities, until we are left with only a single candidate that is possible for each cell, which allows us to set that digit in that cell as the cell's value with absolute certainty that it is correct. To repeat, we will always use logic to deduce the value of any particular cell, and therefore we will always be certain that a value is correct before we enter it into the puzzle. There will be absolutely no guessing, trial and error, or brute force. We will solve the puzzles through logic. This is the best way, and in my opinion, the only way to do it. Okay? Good. Many people, because they see a large grid full of numbers, have the false impression that a Sudoku puzzle is mathematical in nature. But this is not really true. It could just as easily be 9 different flowers, or 9 different breeds of dogs, or 9 US presidents that fill the cells, as long as there were exactly one of each in every row, column, and 3x3 block. The puzzles are more about deductive reasoning than they are about math, but don't let that scare you. I will show you the logic and the proof behind each technique so you will fully understand how it works. And the beauty of it is that once you have the confidence that the logic is sound and that the technique is valid, you won't have to memorize the proof. You will only need to know what to look for and how to use the simple technique. It's that easy. You will be able to use these techniques whether you're a hardcore pencil and paper solver or whether you use all the conveniences of computer programs with filtering, coloring, automated candidate lists, etc., or if you fall somewhere in between. However, I must tell you that most of the techniques in this course do require being able to see and analyze all of the remaining candidates. So if you are doing the puzzles with pencil and paper, and unless you are willing to fill in all the candidates by hand, which is an enormously time-consuming and tedious task, not to mention a big mess, you will need to know a few other ways to solve the puzzles. And if that's the case, don't worry, I've got you covered. For all you purists who like to do the puzzles that are regularly found in newspapers, magazines, and puzzle books, please check out my pencil and paper method. You will find all of those lessons in a separate playlist on YouTube and on my website, sudokuswami.com. Personally, I prefer using computer programs only because it is faster. All the things that the computer programs do, you can do manually with pencil and paper, but it takes a lot longer. So it's really up to you. I will show you how to solve the puzzles both ways, and then you can do it however you want. But before we go any further, please let me say that even though I am called the Sudoku Swami, in no way is this supposed to have any religious connotations. It's just a name. This is all about fun and games, and I just wanted to make that clear up front. Okay? Enough said about that. The next video, even though it will not describe any real solving techniques, is necessary in that I will explain all my own particular terminology, so that you will always fully understand what I'm talking about. Most of the terms I use are commonly used by everyone in the Sudoku world, but we should go over all of them just to be safe. And then in the third video, I'm going to jump to an extremely important concept that is at the very heart and foundation of the more complex solving techniques, but can also be employed in many of the simpler ones. I cannot stress enough that it is something which must be fully understood, and that is the logic of and the difference between strong links and weak links. This concept is of the utmost importance for you to completely understand, which is why I'm going to talk about it and explain it before we do anything else, okay? And then in the fourth video, I will explain how these strong and weak links hook up and interact with each other to form chains in which we alternate strong and weak, which further allows us to draw conclusions and make deductions about what is true and what is false based on the implications or inferences of these chains. This type of chain is called an alternate inference chain, or AIC for short. And understanding how this works will kickstart your knowledge of the logic in Sudoku, and is necessary to understand the more advanced solving techniques, but can be found in even the simplest ones, so it's a good place to start. The videos will all be numbered, and each one will kind of lead to the next. So it will probably make more sense for you to watch them in numerical order. But feel free to skip around and watch them in any order you want. The first few will describe the simplest techniques that I'm sure many of you are already familiar with. But we need to cover everything for everybody. So we'll start right at the beginning. And if you watch all my tutorials, everything will eventually become clear. Understanding is the key. I will begin the actual solving techniques in video number 5. As I said, starting with the most basic and simplistic methods. And then each subsequent lesson will gradually and sequentially take us through the higher and higher levels until we reach techniques that usually only computers are capable of finding and applying. Some of you may be able to use these last few techniques, which are extremely complex, but even if you never do, just being aware of them will be very helpful to your overall understanding of the logic behind solving any Sudoku puzzle. But 98% of the lessons will be stuff that you, as a human, can readily use. All the individual techniques that I will show you will be aimed at either eliminating certain candidates as possibilities for a particular cell or cells, or they will be aimed at determining the actual value of a particular cell or cells. And in this way, bit by bit, each puzzle will eventually become unlocked and solved. There are a few really obtuse patterns with crazy names like Teenage Mutant Ninja Cannibalistic Sashimi Endofin Siamese Squirmbag Leviathans. Well, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, although not much. But we will skip these or anything that sounds remotely like that, as I doubt you will ever see one of them or be able to identify one. So we'll let the computer freaks worry about those, but we will cover pretty much everything else. Everything you need to know to become a real expert. And by the way, those few crazy sounding and complicated techniques are usually composed of 2 or 3 simpler techniques that I will show you. So you will be able to solve those elaborate positions with no problem at all, while not even knowing that they are there. Each video will focus on a single technique, or sometimes on 2 or 3 related techniques. and I will provide several examples of each one so that you will fully understand it. And besides the techniques themselves, I will try to give you as many insights and tips as I can as we are going through the various puzzle examples to augment your Sudoku knowledge and help you become an expert solver and cut down on your solving time as well. When I am through with you, these techniques will be so ingrained in your head and in your thinking that you will dream about them. The patterns will begin to jump out of the puzzles at you. I'll teach you how to know when, meaning at what point in the solving of the puzzle, to look for each technique or pattern, and also when to stop wasting time looking for it. I'll show you some tricks and shortcuts that you won't find on any other website or in any other tutorial. I'll show you how to eliminate time-wasting moves and how to use 2 or more techniques simultaneously in order to further shorten your solving time, for those of you who like to work against the clock. I'll show you how to use your peripheral vision to see how every little move you make affects the rest of the puzzle. I have even invented one solving technique that's all my own. I have never seen or heard anyone else mention it or demonstrate it. I call it the Swami Quad Loop, and I will be happy to share it with you. You know, solving Sudoku puzzles, and especially learning new solving techniques, is really great for your mind. It has been shown to stave off and prevent dementia and Alzheimer's disease. This means that besides being a very enjoyable pastime, there are plenty of other good reasons to dig into this. So I invite you now to join me on this wonderful and exciting journey from beginning to end. Okay, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the terminology video. Until then, be well and be happy.